She did not crave attention, only an equal opportunity. Each evening, she cleaned tables in silence, her smile firm even when the gossip grew vicious. To everyone else, she was invisible. A timid black waitress at an establishment that never valued her worth. But one night, when an influential family entered, things were different. One act of generosity struck the notice of someone no one dared to approach: the deaf mother of the billionaire. What happened next would try prejudice's limits.
No, thank you,
It would show
dear.
who
Everything
really
was
heard
lovely.
when the world preferred silence. Would love finally ring more loudly than hate? Marissa had worked at that small-town diner 3 years, the sort of place where the regulars ate the same coffee every morning and the air reeked faintly of grease and rain. She was quiet, perpetually early, never complained. Her uniform was crisply pressed, her hair pulled back, her smile gentle but reserved. For her, silence was easier than being seen. Most evenings ran the same: non-stop refills, worn-out jokes, and the mention of her name in hushed tones when she turned around. She'd grown used to not noticing the stares, the way some customers would leave smaller tips for her than others. It wasn't right, but in her life, you didn't count on fairness. Nevertheless, she had dreams. She'd see individuals speed by in shiny automobiles and envision an existence outside the broken window of this diner. An existence where her epidermis didn't determine the treatment she received. Then, one rainy Thursday evening, the doorbell jingled, and everything shifted. A family walked in, elegant and silent, their presence commanding the room. The billionaire's deaf mother sat near the window, her eyes kind but searching. Marissa didn't know it yet, but this ordinary shift would become the moment her quiet existence collided with power, prejudice, and unexpected grace. The evening started as any other: plates clinking, whispers of conversation, rain spattering against the panes. Marissa darted between tables with her characteristic silent ease, her hands firm, even when her heart was not. The affluent group at table 7 had everyone's eyes. They wore designer coats that puddled on the floor tiles, their tones hushed, measured. The billionaire's mother, deaf as she was, picked up everything. Marissa most of all. When the food came, a small mishap changed the atmosphere. Marissa stretched to serve soup, but one of the sons, a hasty, thoughtless one, snapped his fingers hard, making her jump. The bowl teetered, spilling onto the spotless tablecloth. A murmur circulated through the diner, the sound of laughter from a nearby booth, a sneer from another waitress. "Should have known better," someone grumbled. Marissa apologized, shaking, her face aflame. The son waved him away. "It's okay," he said, his tone contradicting him. But the mother of the billionaire put her hand on his arm, scribbling something hastily. The room held its breath as she motioned Marissa closer. Baffled, Marissa approached. The older woman smiled and signed once more, slowly this time. Marissa stopped dead in her tracks. She couldn't hear the words, but she felt their intent. Since Marissa spoke sign language, her younger brother had been born deaf, and she'd learned to talk to him over the years. She signed back, tentatively at first, and then with increasing confidence. The mother's face brightened, pure joy shining through the stiffness that had clung to her family all evening. For a fleeting instant, everything else melted away. But not for long. The other waitress, Tanya, watched from behind the counter, jealousy twisting her expression. She whispered something to the manager, her eyes darting toward Marissa. Within minutes, he walked over, face tight, voice low but sharp. "Customers are complaining," he said. "You're making a scene." Marissa's heart sank. "I was just helping." "Enough!" he snapped. "Go to the back. I'll handle the rest." The shame washed over her like a wave. Everyone around her feigned not looking, feigned not caring. But the mother of the billionaire did care. She stood, slowly, purposefully, and signed once more, this time with desperation. Her son attempted to hold her back, but she pushed him off, her glare fixed on Marissa. No one knew what she had said, but they all sensed its weight. The son clenched his jaw, the manager turned pale, and the diners ceased conversation. Something unspoken went between the two women, something strong, rebellious. As Marissa turned towards the kitchen, tears obscured her vision. She didn't notice the billionaire himself standing by the doorway, having observed everything. His eyes trailed after her, torn, questioning, uncomfortable. Because what he'd just seen wasn't about soup spilled. It was about dignity, and the subtle cruelty that grew in spaces that professed to be kind. And although no one yet knew it, that silent moment between two women, one unseen, one unheard, was going to set something much louder than words alight. The change came in one word: enough. The billionaire's mom had signed it, slow, deliberate, and full of quiet rage. The whole diner came to a standstill. Marissa stood shaking at the table's side, her hands frozen in mid-air from signing an apology. The manager's voice had just broken in the air, rebuking her for making a scene, the condescension dripping from his voice. But now, everyone stared at the older woman, the one nobody dared interrupt. The billionaire himself rose, bewildered, his costly watch glinting in the light. "Mother, let's not," he began. But she cut him off with a swift glance. She turned to Marissa and signed once more, this time quicker, more intense. Her hands were purposeful, her eyes shining. Marissa's heart skipped a beat as she translated mentally, tears pricking behind her eyes. The woman was thanking her for something so mundane, talking to her in a language that few cared to learn. But the crowd didn't notice kindness. They noticed defiance. Some customers started whispering. Someone growled, "All this over a waitress?" The manager attempted to downplay it, going for the check. "Ma'am, please, she's just an employee." The billionaire's mother stood up and signed something so cold, so absolute, that even without words the message hit everyone like a slap. Her son's face altered, from annoyance to comprehension. And then, in one movement, she moved into her purse and extracted a card, a shiny, black metal one, and set it on the table. She gestured to Marissa, then to the manager. Her son let out a sigh of realization. At last. "See here," he said loudly, his tone low but quivering. "This is the woman you just insulted in front of my mother." Gasp waves spread across the room. Marissa was frozen, not knowing whether to cry or flee. The mother smiled softly, putting a touch to Marissa's hand. In that hushed, shaking moment, each whisper died, each look mellowed. Because for the first time the world was forced to witness what humanity looked like when finally power decided to hear. When the truth was finally revealed, it did not come with cries, it came in silence. The morning after, videos went viral. Someone had taped it all. The shame, the mother's strength, the manner Marissa stood shaking yet unbroken. The news traveled more quickly than anyone could have anticipated. The billionaire's mother made a public announcement, penned by her own hand, on behalf of the young waitress who had been kind when others had been cruel. In days, there were reporters outside the diner. The quietly resigned manager. Tanya ceased attending work, and Marissa, who had been invisible, now became visible. The billionaire's family contacted her, asking her to take a new role working with an organization that served those who were disabled and disenfranchised. She took it, not out of a desire for revenge, but in order to do something that would count. But even as her own life unfolded, Marissa never forgot that night. The stares, the whispers, the way she'd been silenced for doing something right. Because it wasn't about her. It was about every human being who's ever been punished for being in the wrong skin, in the wrong place, at the wrong time. Sometimes the world doesn't need another headline. It needs a moment of truth, one that makes us look closer, listen deeper, and ask ourselves the toughest question of all. When prejudice and kindness sit at the same table, which will we serve next time?